Loud and Quiet presents Midnight Chats.
That's right, everybody. It's close to 1 a.m. And it's edging into the witching hour. So buckle down, you midnight campers, and open the windows and get ready. Get ready for midnight to bring you a psychic gift.
God bless Ryan Adams. He was our first guest on the podcast this year, and we just felt we had to play that again. This episode of the podcast is what some might consider a lazy one. I'm here with Greg. I'm Stuart. And if you've listened to the podcast throughout the whole year, you'll know all the people that we've had on this year. But if you haven't, then you've missed some really good stuff, I feel. And I don't know where you've been. Do you feel good about 2017, Greg? It's the year that Gemma Collins fell down a hole.
Absolute highlight, wasn't it? Yeah, that's what I'll probably remember 2017 for, to be honest. Gemma Collins falling down a hole. I'm taking all the positives out of this year. Yeah. Feeling it wasn't as bad as 2016, was it?
No, but in a way, I feel it lost a lot of the drama. I feel it lacked something this year.
So what we're going to do, as Stu's already said, we've had the highly original idea of putting together some of our favourite moments from this year. So you're going to hear small parts of the conversations that we've recorded for Midnight Chats from the last 12 months. Hopefully, if you're listening for the first time, it will give you a bit of an idea about what we do. We publish a new podcast every fortnight on a Thursday at midnight. And the whole idea is that either Stu or I sit down with an artist, somebody who we think will have something interesting to say, and we have a conversation, and generally it has a sort of late night feel. That's why it's called Midnight Chats. We've had some brilliant people on this year, and we're going to play out some of the best bits, as they say.
Yeah, so we've because we know that there will be some people that subscribe to the podcast and maybe listen to the most recent ones quite recently. We've not chosen them. That's not to say they weren't great. I particularly loved talking to Wesley Gonzalez a couple of weeks ago for the podcast. Before that, Charlotte Gainsbourg. They would have been in my highlights if they'd been earlier in the year, but we feel we should kind of call back to the beginning of the year. Maybe people missed that Ryan Adams bit, so that's why that's in there. The first one I'm going to pick, so we've picked a couple of our own favourites because, as Greg says, we take turns doing these interviews. The first one, should we go straight for this now? We ready for this?
Yeah, go on. Yeah.
Okay, so the first one that I've picked, this is a short clip. This is the shortest clip I've picked. And this is Laura Marling, who I spoke to in February for number 19, episode 19. So you can go back and listen to the whole thing if this grabs you. This is Laura talking about why she doesn't tour that much and the fact that she has recently got into making cheese.
Well, right now, I've just got into making cheese. That's been fun.
Okay.
I've been making halloumi. I've been trying to get halloumi down.
Halloumi's my favourite cheese.
It's the greatest cheese.
It's the best cheese.
It's kind of not cheese.
I think when people say halloumi is the greatest cheese, I think that's quite, you're not meant to say that, are you?
Not to the French.
No, it's quite sacrilegious to say that halloumi is the best cheese, but it is. Would I be right in thinking that you don't tour that much?
I don't. In comparison to most people, I tour very, very little. I like to be busy all the time, not necessarily doing work, but like I'm either reading or knitting, or I'm not saying it's highbrow shit, but I'm always doing stuff. But what I find with tour is that it's a lot of empty time. It's a very inefficient use of a day, in my opinion. Yeah. And so one can do whatever one can, like go and see galleries or get a sense of the local stuff. But I've done it. Yeah. And so I've seen all the galleries. I can go back, whatever. But yeah, so there's bits of it I find a little bit tough, and I like to be at home, and I don't like to feel like I'm a slave to my career.
No.
And some, a lot of more sensible people than I do go out and tour their bollocks off because that's how you sustain a career.
Yeah.
And I just about managing to do that without doing all the touring.
And you've got the cheese now.
Well, exactly.
You know.
There's a huge gap in the halloumi market in London, and I'm ready to step in.
Did you come away from that episode of Midnight Chats with any of Laura Marling's cheese?
No, she didn't bring any of the cheese with her. It was a really fun one to do. I felt quite privileged that we got Laura Marling because she doesn't do much, as well as touring, she doesn't do much press and she doesn't do many interviews. So it was nice that she came on, and she's got one of those voices that you could, as you can hear from that, we're pretty much talking a load of bollocks for most of it about really, I mean, that's what this podcast essentially has become. That's when I feel it's at its best, Greg, when we're talking about nonsense. We have chat about, I mean, go back and listen to that. I recommend it to anyone if you missed it, because we also talk about Amazon and why I think it's evil. And Laura Marling also has a fixation with the year 1969.
Yeah.
And she collects memorabilia from 1969. I think she's stopped that now, but we talk a little bit about that. So there's loads in there. But no cheese.
Presumably, if you're listening to this, it means that you're a fan of podcasts. And Laura Marling has a really good podcast series that she made probably about 18 months ago now, which is why we wanted to get her on. So that's called Reversal of the Muse.
Yeah.
And she went out and spoke to lots of other female artists, women working in the music industry, to get their perspective on things. It was really inventive and really interesting. So if you are a fan of podcasts, which you obviously are because you're listening to this, then check out Laura Marling's as well.
I think it's on her SoundCloud.
Okay.
I think you can get it all there, yeah.
A sign that we are starting to build a catalogue of Midnight Chats, for me, came in the sort of early summer of this year when I went to go and meet Thundercat. You know that guy. The bass-wielding Californian
the jazz
dude.
man.
The jazz man.
The jazzy boy.
He's one of the... you could definitely call him a dude. He's got an aura about him, and he's got an impressive selection of garments. I mean, he looked... On stage, he often wears what looks like a kind of really nice dressing gown, you know? He's a man who smells good and wears great clothes. Anyway, I was looking forward to meeting him. And the sign that we've made lots of these episodes of the podcast now came there because Thundercat's really good mates with Flying Lotus. And in the middle of last year, we recorded an episode of Midnight Chats with Flying Lotus in an old cinema in central London because he was screening a film called Royal, which went on to form part of another bigger feature-length film that Flying Lotus made called Kuso, which came out this year, 2017. Anyway, Flying Lotus and Thundercat, when they're back home in Los Angeles, they hang out, they play video games, they stroke Thundercat's cat called Tron, which he talked about in this podcast as well. And so when I caught up with Thundercat, I wanted to ask him what he made of that film Kuso, because, to be honest, every time I think about it or talk about it, I cannot begin to describe just how gross and dark and weird and warped. I've never seen anything like that movie. So I basically wanted Thundercat to do my job for me, and I asked him if he could describe it.
Oh my God. Yeah, I don't even know. Yeah, that's a difficult one, man. I honestly, it kind of threw me off there. I don't know how to describe that movie. It's just really intense.
He was saying that so to fill people in, you've known each other probably about a decade or more, and he's always wanted to make films as well as the music that he's been kind of working on. So how long have you, I'm sure as a kind of sort of close mate of his, have you been talking about the ideas and have been talking about this stuff that's coming to fruition now? But I bet it's gone back to conversations for years now, right?
Man, it's mind-blowing to see it come into fruition. It's like, there were moments where, of course, I know, Lotus's history with, film and stuff like that. And everything from that to him rapping as Captain Murphy was always a shock to me. It was kind of like a little bit of a different facet of his character that he would never let on. Like he would never have known. You're like, no way, and to see his first film is like, it's fantastic. It honestly is. It's like, you know, we would talk every now and again about it, you know, and I feel like he influenced me in that manner a bit, because it's like, I was a bit of a film buff, but not until I met Lotus. That dude, you know, he knows his film, and to a major degree, it's like it would affect me to, you know, to the way I would write music and stuff too. But at the same time, it's like, I would have never thought that he would actually, you know, do it. And, you know, the best way to describe it is, you know, don't underestimate Flying Lotus, you know.
Yeah.
that's all you can. That's how I can sum it up, man.
I thought it was funny that when he was trying to describe the movie, because he had trouble himself, because it's kind of, it's dark. It's kind of full of dark humor, but it's also pretty much, I mean, maybe you've seen similar films, but I certainly haven't. To me, it was something quite different. And it's pretty gross in moments. So that's putting it very lightly, by the way.
Yeah.
And he told me that his grandmother had been to see it, which I thought was just absolutely superb.
Oh, you got to take the family. You got to let them know how crazy you are.
Yeah, exactly.
You always have to have a reminder, like, don't forget I'm crazy.
Yeah. Oh, it's definitely that. When you, I mean, with going back, you know Lotus for a number of years, and you mentioned there that until you met him, he was a guy that could kind of school you in movies you'd never even heard of. What's the best recommendation you ever had for a movie from Flying Lotus?
Oh man, it was the day when he introduced me to Old Boy.
Okay.
Yeah, he's the one that turned me on to Old Boy, you know, and it was just mind blowing. It was funny because it's like guys of a certain cloth, you know. It's like he's like, hey, you know, you need to go see this movie, and I was like, what? You know, I was like, all right, sure, you know. And I watched it, and I was like, oh my God. And he was like, right? And I was like, yeah. And he was like, we just need more movies like that, right? And I was like, yeah, we need more movies like that.
Yeah. Tell us about Old Boy for people that haven't seen it.
Oh, it's a Korean film. It's an amazing film. You know, it's a revenge story. I wouldn't want to ruin it for anybody that hasn't seen it yet, but it's one of those things where the twists are so hard in this movie that it just may give you whiplash, man. It is intense, man. It's everything. It's violent. It's just everything you want to happen in a movie that you would be like, oh, that is cringeworthy. This is that movie, you know. And it's like it's just got this amazing climactic moment in the movie that I just will just ruin your life.
That is some recommendation.
Yeah.
Thundercat sounded very relaxed, shall we say, there, Greg. Did you get the feeling he was a relaxed guy? Guy who likes relaxing?
He was very relaxed. He was backstage at a venue called Heaven in central London, where we recorded that, and he was sat next to a throne that apparently Madonna and Britney Spears have both used on stage at that club. It's quite a famous gay club in the centre of town, and it was a relaxed scenario.
I'm going to now push straight on into my second highlight, second choice. This is Samuel T. Herring of Future Islands. And this guy is almost the complete opposite to Thundercat in his approach to kind of maybe everything in life. Certainly to speaking, he is a ball of energy. As if you've seen Future Islands play or you've heard him speak, then you'll know this. Like, Sam Herring is a man who likes to move around, and we didn't even speak about the new album that he was promoting when he was in town at all. We were just kind of talking 100 miles an hour about all sorts of things from Baltimore and touring and all this is a hard grafting band who basically worked their asses off until a certain moment in time, which I'm sure everyone knows about by now, when they got their first TV performance and they performed Seasons on the David Letterman show. And that's what we're talking about here. It's one of those things that I think Sam is probably sick of being asked about. God bless him, he didn't mind me talking about it, because I was still fascinated to hear from his point of view just exactly what had happened that night. If you know the clip, you'll know it. You'll know exactly what he's talking about. If not, just check it out on YouTube. It's probably had 1 billion views by now. Seasons on Letterman. You'll find it easily. And it was just this particular performance when Future Islands played their first TV show, and instead of adapting it to be on TV like most bands would, they just played it like they would any of their million gigs that they play every year. And this is Sam talking about that experience and exactly how it played out from his point of view.
I mean, we were nervous, but we treated it like any other gig. And the thing you don't see on camera is that studio is smaller than we thought it would be, which was good.
Yeah.
You know, you see
it's
it on
like a
TV
theater, right? It's like an actual theater.
It's a theater, yeah. So maybe fits like 300 or 400.
Okay.
So the audience isn't actually, they are far away from you, but it's not too far. But if you watch, you know, I'm walking past the monitors out towards the people. I'm actually like looking at grandmas who are like, what's happening? You know, they're not scared, but they have like kind of like really kind of amazed looks on their face, like what's happening right now? And you know, our friends in the audience, you know, I'm looking out to the people, and I think that's the big thing about that performance was that it wasn't insular to a band, like you're watching a band on TV on the stage, like, but it's the connection that we've always had with people, to try to connect with people and look at people in the eyes, like looking past the cameras, you know, because there's something behind the cameras, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But yeah, you know, that performance would have been very different if it had been 3 years prior. Not that it wouldn't have had the same impact. There's no telling. But the fact that, you know, at that point we'd played over 750, almost 800 shows. Like that shows in that performance. And also we aren't the band that was put together and played some shows and now is going to get their TV debut after putting out their first record. Like, we were old road dogs who were getting a chance at sharing what we do. And so you know, I mean, I was reasoning with myself backstage, like, am I going to do the things I do on stage? Are you going to go for the growl? Are you going to hit your chest? You know, like how are you going to approach this? And you know, so there were nerves involved and not really being sure. And even in the, you know, I kind of blacked out on stage and just was in the performance. And that's where you want to be. You know, you want to be in a place where you're not really thinking about if your zipper is up or not, or if you're gonna fall over. And that was the beauty of his response, was that the song ended, and in my head I said, "We did it! Like, we got through it. Nobody
fell over."
Yeah. And I heard that, whoa, like from the side, and that's when I was like, oh, like kind of snapped back into it. And he had his great response, which, like I said, like even after that performance, we walked off and we're like, I think we did good.
Yeah,
that felt pretty good, and had no idea of the impact it would have, because once again, we were just doing what we do every night. And that's been the funniest thing to it about how that performance has brought such a huge new audience to our band, as which is good, because it's not like people found out about us and then come to a show even still expecting that that's actually going to happen.
Yeah.
They're like, they come to a show like, was that real? And then they come to a show and see that it's actually even more intense and continues to be intense. You know, like that 3.5 minutes is only a small piece of a larger puzzle, of a bigger show and a range of more emotions, you know, and so that was cool. We didn't, because it took that long to get that moment, we didn't take any of the accolades for granted, or the growth for, you know, we were just like, we felt like we earned it.
Old road dogs.
Road dog. We're old road dogs.
I love that Samuel T. Herring podcast, because I think when we record these episodes, they're quite often, well, they've been a whole range of feelings and emotions, and some of them are quite silly and some of them are quite serious and reflective. And that one in particular is really uplifting, because as you hear him saying there, Future Islands have been a band for a long time. It took them 800 odd shows before their breakthrough moment, and it's just really nice to see, isn't it? And he came across really well. I like the guy.
Yeah, he's one of those people. He's very good at making you feel at ease. As soon as you meet him, like, he's just a very friendly guy. I do owe Sam a little bit of an apology, because when I do the bits of artwork for each episode, we just do the same bit of artwork with different colouring. That's what we do. And he got the short straw. He's got such a shitty colour combo. And I don't know what I was thinking. It's like a brown background and like orange lettering. Ooh. I don't know what I was thinking with that one. And it's one of the ones that I look at and I think, well, that's the bad one. That's the worst one, I think. It's not reflective of Sam. I just think I was having an off day with my colours.
The next clip that we're going to play is from an episode that I recorded just in autumn, just gone by, with an artist called Julien Baker, who is sort of at the opposite end of her career to Future Islands, or rather what you were just hearing Sam Herring talking about there, as in the fact that they've played, almost 1,000 shows or whatever. She's still really just starting out in a way. She brought out her second album in October called Turn Out the Lights, and she's a singer-songwriter from Memphis in the southern states, and we like to have a range of people on the podcast, some that have got some old road dogs with great stories and years gone by, and other people who are pretty much new on the block, the new kids on the block. And Julien is kind of that. I didn't really know what to expect from her, because the music she makes in that singer-songwriter, almost kind of folky tradition, it's a bit more, maybe some people call it a bit more emo than that, but I thought she might be quite meek, maybe quite mild, maybe softly spoken. Not that at all. She's one of the smartest young people I have ever met, and she was an amazing conversationalist, really, really articulate, far more articulate than me, and I loved chatting to her. And she came into the office. We had a very varied conversation, but I had recently been to America and travelled around where she's from, and so I was personally really excited to talk to her about that. Memphis specifically I found really fascinating, not just because of the landmarks that people know of, obviously Graceland and the Peabody Hotel Ducks.
Did you
Very
see the
strange.
ducks?
Yeah, I saw
Listen,
the ducks.
So that's like on my, well, I'll let you finish.
No,
but
no.
Just to interject, that it's so funny to me, that piece of Memphis lore, the ducks that, perform the little, they walk around. But I was in Germany playing a show the first time I ever came to Europe, and for me the ducks are cool, but they're like a kitschy event. The top sights to see, that's probably 5th on the list. And someone in Germany was like, "Oh, you're from Memphis. Is that place with the ducks?" And I was like, "Yes." How did you know this?
I know.
But it's crazy. Did you see the ducks walk?
We did. So
Nice.
For people that, if this is making no sense for people, there's a hotel called the Peabody, famous place in Memphis, been there for a long time. And they have this very quirky tradition of, they have some ducks in the hotel that live on the roof. And maybe once, twice a day, I can't quite remember, the ducks come down in the elevator, in the lift, to the ground floor. Hundreds of tourists gather around. The ducks walk from the lift to the fountain, go in the fountain for a bit, then they turn around and they reverse the journey and they go back upstairs.
They're trained to do this, and they're walked out by was the guy there with
the
the
duck
top
master.
The duck master. Yes. Different than duck commander.
I actually don't know the different levels of duck.
No. Duck. I'm pretty sure Duck Commander is like a Bass Pro Shop like hunting thing.
Oh, okay.
But then there's Duck Master.
So it's done in this big ceremonial way. So the Duck Master does a bit of a speech and talks about the history of the Peabody. Then the ducks, as if they're walking, they actually walk on a red carpet. So celebrity ducks.
Ducks.
They make their way over to the fountain. Everybody applauds. It's such a surreal thing. I must admit, I came away thinking, okay, did I enjoy that? I mean, I enjoyed the spectacle of
I was about to say,
it.
the spectacle. There's so many things in Memphis, I think, that are bizarre enough that you just want to witness the absurdity of the fact that it exists. But you were saying, so you saw many things in Memphis, and what struck you?
Yeah, so there was, so obviously when people think of Memphis, they think Graceland, they think of maybe the Peabody Hotel. Maybe you've only just learned about that, but maybe you want to go and check that out. Then obviously Beale Street and B.B. King's Blues Club, and maybe if you're more into your music, then like Sun Studio, places like that. But it's a city that's really characterized by its huge kind of historic landmarks, those places. What was the actual reality like of growing up in that city?
I think there's a duality to the city, but that those elements of the past, while they seem like kind of static fixtures of history, play into the locals' conception of the city, right? So I had never been to Graceland ever, you know, like growing up, I never went a single time. There's this thing called Graceland 2, which is just small sidebar. The man who ran it was, he actually passed a little while ago, but Graceland 2, spelled T-O-O, as in, this is also Graceland, was this bizarre little house owned by this man who just filled it with Elvis memorabilia. And it was like this informal kind of cult activity that we would all go to Graceland 2, and if you just knock on the door, and I think the thing was you showed up with a 6-pack of Coca-Cola, or if you don't, the man at any hour of the night, I had friends that would go at like 2 a.m, will invite you in, and he will just walk you around his home. It's just like a person's house. And like he'll just show you all his crazy stuff. There's a lot of like interesting dichotomy of Memphis where there's the normal thing and then the abnormal thing.
I've got a question on that.
Go on.
I have listened to this episode, obviously, but I can't remember. The guy that lets kids come to his house if they bring him Coca-Cola. Is that okay?
I haven't done any further research. He's passed away now.
Okay.
So as she says in that clip, but I think I haven't looked too much into the history of Graceland 2.
Did you go to Graceland 1?
I went to the original.
The real Graceland. Was it any good?
Yeah, fascinating. I'm not even a huge Elvis fan, but to get to walk around his home and in his gardens, and there's like a squash court out in the garden because he likes squash.
Is he buried there?
He is. Yeah. It's really well done. It's presented in a very American way. It's quite entertaining. It takes you on a bit of an emotional journey as you walk around. Even if you're not a fan of Elvis, it is quite amazing. He's got a lot of TVs in there. He loved TV. I think it's something like 13 TVs in his house.
Didn't Elvis used to shoot the TVs if he didn't like what was on the TV?
Don't know, but that...
Have I made that up? I think that's a story. I think that's true. Like if he was watching, say, X Factor, he'd shoot it, or you know, the equivalent in the day.
I don't know, but apparently he'd seen that the president had multiple TVs in their home, whichever president it was at the time, and that he thought, I want that. That seems pretty good.
Why not, eh? When you're Elvis, I mean, fair enough. Okay, this next clip has got it's got quite a bit of background noise on it because it was recorded. This is the noisiest one I think I've ever recorded. It was recorded essentially in the lobby of a hotel at Primavera Sound. We were actually a little bit above the lobby, but you could still hear everything. This is with Angel Olsen, and she had literally just arrived from another festival in Switzerland, I think. And what we're talking about here is Angel's love for roller skating, which is something that she's obsessed with, and has even put in a video. So the video for Shut Up and Kiss Me, she refers to a little bit in this little clip, but this is me and Angel Olsen in a very noisy lobby talking about roller skating. You roller skate, right?
Yeah, I actually, see, that's the thing. I want to get some rollies for Glasto, you know? I'm trying to do that. I'm trying to do some roller skates on the stage, but I don't want to hurt myself in front of people either. That could be a big risk.
How long have you been?
Big liability. I don't know if they'd let me.
I think they wouldn't be able to stop you. Would
If
they?
I showed them videos, maybe. Like, look, it's me. I
I'm
skate.
good. I'm good.
I skate outside.
Do you skate? What kind of skates do you have? Do you go inline or do you go quads?
I do. What do you mean, like the
Do you do like the two,
Oh,
the
yeah.
four,
The-
two
the
and two?
vintage ones,
Or
yeah.
you don't do the inline
Nah.
rollerblades. No.
I did when I was a kid. I used to play street hockey as a kid. And then the change happened and I stopped. I was great at defense. And so I got good at skating because I played hockey outside with a bunch of boys, including family members and cousins and stuff. And girls too. But we got really good at it. And then, then I became a girl. And then I gave it up. And then I would secretly skate still, but I didn't play hockey as much. And developed interest in other things, obviously. But now I'm just kind of like, well, maybe I'll play street hockey again. Maybe I'll do that again.
Yeah.
Because I put on a pair of roller skates and went to a roller rink just to do it one day, just to see what it was like. And it was the best sober thing that I could have ever done in my whole life. Like kids doing the sock hop. And in Asheville especially, there was this one, the one that I shot my videos at, called Tar Wheels. And and it's just like stuck in time, like stuck in the 70s. The lights haven't been changed in years, like same signage and everything. And you see these all sorts of people and live in Asheville, creatives, hicks, just all kinds of hipsters and scenesters, but then also retirees and so it was an interesting scene. And when I would go, I'd go and listen to music on my headphones and just skate in circles. And one day I saw this guy in a wheelchair just sitting there, and one of the employees came up behind him and rolled him around. And I thought it was the sweetest thing. I was like, this is why you skate, because of stuff like that, It's just like simple happiness. And it doesn't require anything from anyone. You're just happy, and everyone else is happy.
Do you ever skate to the shops?
It'd have to be a smooth gravel road, like a freshly paved road. And that's what happened in my video. I found this like one street that had just been paved. And I was like, this could be amazing, or I could really eat shit.
I do like that we ask all the really hard-hitting questions on Midnight Chats. Do you skate to the shops?
Do you ever skate to the shops, Em?
Tell me.
The way that was edited as well also sounded like I was being really impatient. So it's like, yeah, but do you ever skate to the shops? I don't give a shit about any of this stuff that you're saying. What I really care about is how do you get to the shops? Do you skate there? I think I probably asked that because I used to skate in my day, Greg.
Did you?
Yeah. I would skate to the shops.
Fantastic. What to go and get some sweets or something?
Or milk from my mum, whatever. But yeah.
Great mode of transport though.
I used to love it. I see what she means, when you can stand up on skates. Because I mean, if you can't, it's one of those things that if you can do it, it is great fun and very freeing and like being a kid again. And if you can't, it's the worst day out in the world, isn't it? Like going around on the edge. You see people like holding onto the edge. They've got
especially this time of year. Well, I mean, with ice skating, for example.
Yeah.
The places around London, it's good entertainment for half an hour or so though if you just go and watch the people that are skating.
You don't need to pay.
No.
And do it. Don't do it. Just watch other people fail at it. Yeah.
Exactly. There was a sort of defining moment in the middle of the summer this year for Midnight Chats because we make a new episode every fortnight and put it online on a Thursday night, but then some hoodlum broke into our office and took all of our kit, and we'd recorded a few episodes of the podcast that got taken in that unfortunate incident. So we did stop in the middle of the summer. If you're a regular listener, you'll have noticed that because we just disappeared. It kind of was an unintentional summer holiday for us.
And we lost some really good things.
Oh yeah,
you had Tom Morello in the bag.
I know. Tom Morello recorded on the day after the UK general election in the summer, which he was really good talking about, which is a bit of a shame. And you spoke to Adam from the War on Drugs.
Yeah. I mean, that was mainly me asking him about what movies he watches on planes. And if you've listened to previous podcasts I've done, you'll realise that's a recurring theme. It's how I dig myself out of a hole.
Right.
I just go for that.
You can't do that anymore now.
No, I think actually, in reality, I think it's only made the cut of one. The Billy Corgan one, I think, is the one where it's actually in.
Okay.
It's how Little tricks of the trade here. A little bit of small talk.
Ah, nice.
Goes, works wonders with the pop stars of today. Hey, what did you watch on the plane on the way here? And they're thinking, this guy is no threat to me. This guy he's just shooting the breeze.
Let's have some cinematic chit chat.
Yeah.
So the clip we're about to play is basically our comeback episode, which was Benjamin Clementine, who won the Mercury Prize a couple of years ago. That was the moment when most people heard of him for the first time, I think, even though he'd been making music for a little while. He's the guy from North London who left home in his late teens and moved to Paris and was homeless and was in Paris busking on the streets and eventually got spotted, made an album, and which wound up, his debut album wound up winning the Mercury Prize. So anyway, I went to go and meet Benjamin in a hotel room in West London. But we've been lucky a few times over the course of making Midnight Chats where the timing of when we record these episodes sometimes works out to be absolutely spot on. So, for example, we had Mike Skinner back ages ago who came in on the day that Trump was elected, wasn't it? We had Bat for Lashes was with us when the Brexit result came in, things like that. So really big historical moments. Anyway, it just so happened that Benjamin Clementine was chatting to us just before this year's Mercury, and so I couldn't really not ask him about what he remembered from that night.
It was a very emotional night. A week before that, obviously, the Paris terrorist attack. I was torn, and I needed some sort of hope. I needed some sort of. Of course I am stronger, but music needed my music. I think it just needed that sort of. I feel that it was meant to be, and so when I won it, I just felt that it was appropriate that I brought everyone on the stage to somehow stand in front of death and go, well, we won, or trauma or fear, and say that, whatever happens now, know that we'll always win. So it was a very, very it's a time I'll never forget. It's the Mercury Prize is smaller than the occasion, because you can never bring it back. The prize is here, but that moment made by the program and that, the occasion, it's a bigger award. It's much of a bigger award for me. For me, the award was standing on stage with those people, those artists, Lola Laverne, looking out television, or thinking, you can't really see a lot of people, but apparently there's a lot of people watching.
Yeah. It was a really meaningful moment because I don't think that's been done in Mercury history before, with an artist who's won has basically invited the other nominees, the 11 other nominees, I think, up onto the stage to effectively kind of receive the prize along with you to celebrate that moment. And you're right, in the context of what happened the week before in Paris, it did feel like a very emotional occasion. Clearly what happened in Paris was still a very painful thing, still is. When was the first time after winning the award that you returned to Paris and kind of felt the atmosphere in the city? And what was that like? I mean, I should probably explain as well that obviously you were born in London, but you spent 3 years or so in Paris. More than that. And then you spent time in New York recently, but Paris is still a city that I assume means a great deal to you. So, that experience of going back to Paris after winning the prize to kind of witness how that city was in the aftermath. How was that experience?
Well, funny you just asked me that question. It's as if you knew what I was about to say next. And that was that before winning the Mercuries, the week before that, I was in Paris. I was living in a brothel. but a very, very. It's basically it was not a brothel, but it's a hostel. I chose to live there. It's a hostel, and every night there's someone screaming or having sex, and the room was about just a little bit bigger than this room we're in.
I should say that it's more of what kind of 6 meters by 6 meters, something like that.
And I was at my computer and I was composing my lower keyboard. And I came out to England for the occasion. I didn't think I'd win, of course. I won it. The next day I went back to the room. In the room there's a little, what's it called, a wardrobe, like a wall, those small things you can put like glass or whatever in there.
Oh, like a sort of sideboard type thing.
Yeah, on a wall. I took the prize and I just put it right there. I laid on my bed and looked out through the window, and I just thought to myself, this is life, this is life.
Well, I don't know where to start with that, Greg.
Speaking to Benjamin Clementine, first off, I really like the guy, but also that podcast has ended up staying with me to the extent that just the way he was speaking about his sort of philosophical moment post winning the Mercury Prize has become a bit of an office mantra, isn't it, for us?
Our catchphrase of the year has become
Benjamin Clementine talking about
saying,
this is life.
Saying, this is life.
Yeah, it's just let go. Like, you can't do anything about it. Life just happens. Absolutely fascinating person to have on the podcast. He was great, and
I would say that's the episode of the year that you will either love it or hate it. There's Benjamin Clementine, in his singing voice as well as his talking voice, people either love it and really get on with it, or they just don't. And it's not the easiest listen, is it? But at the same time, there are just little. There's a bit in that clip then when he's talking about the wardrobe, like so intensely, trying to put a name on this on a wardrobe. He's talking about a wardrobe, for God's sake. I mean, yeah. He's in the current issue of the magazine. If you've not picked that up yet, go and he's a great interviewee and says some really interesting things, and there's some really great photos of him. He's a striking guy. But yeah, go back and listen to that one, unless you listened to that clip and thought, no thanks, not for me.
So we're going to finish up with a bit of a laugh in a second. One of our favourite guests from 2017. Thanks for listening to this special one-off that we've done, this highlights package of 2017. We hope you've enjoyed listening to a bit of a flavour of some of our favourite moments, or a few of our favourite picks from this year. If you are a regular listener to Midnight Chats, thanks for sitting through it again. You've probably heard a lot of that before, but cheers for sticking with us. If you are new to the podcast, new to the series, maybe that's giving you a sort of an idea of what we do and the types of people that we have on, and encourage you to go back and listen to either those episodes or just check out some completely fresh ones. They're all there. You'll find all episodes. We've done almost 40 now, so there's plenty to dig into over the Christmas holidays. When you're got a bit of downtime, just go and listen to an episode of Midnight Chats. And if you're there, and if you do like what we do rate us, do subscribe to us so that you get every new episode that we make, and do tell your podcast loving friends and family around the Christmas dinner table about Midnight Chats, and tell them to check us out, because that would be really helpful. But like I say, we're going to end on a bit of silliness, aren't we?
Yeah, this is a hoot. I mean, this is fun, right? This is Mac DeMarco, who was the 25th guest we had, episode 25, earlier this year in April, and we ended the podcast playing a game, actually, because Mac DeMarco's been in the magazine a lot. He's been on our website a lot. We've done pretty much everything you can do with an artist now. He's had a cover feature, and he's had a little new bands feature really early on, and all these things. And we have a feature called Getting to Know You, and it's a piece we do in the magazine where we send a survey of questions to an artist, and they send them back, and they're all very short one-word answers. And he took it in 2014, and I thought it would be fun to test him on the questions again, or some of the questions again, and see if he can remember what he answered back then and what his answer would be now. So this is Mac and I playing the Getting to Know You quiz, and that's that, really. That's the end of the podcast for 2017. The best year on record. Nothing bad's happened. Gemma Collins fell down a hole. We'll be back in the new year. I think we're going to put up the first one of 2018, and maybe even in the first week of January. We've already recorded one, and I must say, it's quite a special guest. They're all really short answers.
Okay.
I'm going to ask you a couple of them.
And see if then we'll compare answers.
We'll compare the answers to
Okay.
what your answer would be now and what it was then. So, what's your favourite word?
Probably butt cheeks.
Butt cheeks is correct.
Bingo.
Bang! You haven't changed a bit. You say you're getting old and growing up. I don't believe that. Okay, the film you can quote the most of.
Probably Star Wars or maybe Amadeus or Star.
Back then you went for Austin Powers.
Okay. I might have been fibbing back then. But
Okay.
yeah,
How about
maybe Amadeus? I don't know. Who knows?
what's your favorite place in the world? What is it right now?
Right now, I love Tokyo. We got to go to Tokyo, and it's been since then, so love it. But what was it then?
It was Hooters then.
I was being a little jackass in this. That's cute.
This is the very first one of these we did. This was like our test run of these, and it's probably still the best one. The most famous person you've met?
I feel like I probably would have said something like Joe Mama or something, but did I give me this? Did I give like a serious answer there?
I couldn't call it. Because there's a chance you would have met this person, but I'd also wouldn't be surprised if you are going to say like, fuck off, I've never met her.
Okay, well let me say, who is the most famous person I would have met now? I've met the dude from Twilight. What's his name?
Oh, Patterson?
Yeah, I met him.
Was he a dude? Was he nice?
Yeah, he was. I mean, I was really drunk, and I talked to him for like 2 seconds. Okay. And he was like, "Haven't we met before?" And I was like, "I don't know." So he seemed nice. I don't know. We didn't really meet him. I guess who was the most famous?
Shall I say who you were?
I met Jonah Hill. He's extremely famous.
He's really famous.
Yeah, he's very famous.
Back then, you said Lindsay Lohan.
Oh, definitely have. Oh no, yeah, I did meet Lindsay Lohan
Did
once.
you?
I did. Yeah.
Okay. That's good. That's still.
You know
good.
why
That's
I don't
still...
remember those? Because I met her. I was getting introduced to these people on this couch, and I was like, "Oh, hey, hi, how you doing?" It was by my friend Sandy. And then when I got to Lindsay, I was like, "Hey," and I couldn't really hear. There was a show going on, and I was like, Shirley or something. Cool, whatever. Then I walked away, and Kira was like, "That's Lilo," and I was like, "No, it wasn't." And I looked over, I was like, "Oh yeah, it was." So I just completely blanked on it, which is,
But yeah, thought that was cool.
It's pretty famous though. She's famous.
She's really famous. Yeah.
Yeah. Jonah Hill's pretty famous too, though.
I think that needs to now be your answer.
Yeah.
He's more famous than her now, right?
I guess so.
Was he a nice guy?
Yeah, he was. It was kind of he was a big fan, but he was kind of like, oh my god, not. But him freaking out at me, being like, I love you, and then I was kind of like, but you're like Jonah. I saw Superbad when I was like super young. I've seen a ton of his movies. It's like
Superbad is still his best.
That movie's hilarious. I watched it last week, but for to have somebody that I should be freaking out on freak out at me preemptively was just like, whoa, it's like really weird. But he's a really nice guy.
Okay, let's just do a couple more. Your guilty pleasure.
I probably said. You say Coldplay all the time, but I'm not guilty about Coldplay. Guilty pleasure, just eating. I eat like shit. That's my guilty pleasure.
Do you know what you said in 2014?
What?
You said pissing in the bath.
No.
That's true.
That's your.
Oh. Was this over email? Did I do this over email?
This is over email.
Must have been, because I must have thought these out. That's so sick. I love pissing in the bath. I do feel guilty about it though, especially when my girlfriend's in there with me.
Okay, we'll just do this last one. Your biggest disappointment. This questionnaire, you can find out a lot about people and how they answer it.
So I have no idea what I would have said, but let me just say what I'll say now. Biggest disappointment. I don't know. I don't really feel disappointed ever. I liked the new Star Wars movies. I'm trying to think movies. That's the only thing that really. Star Wars. What other movies have I even seen this year? Pretty much none. Yeah, I didn't like The Hobbit.
Back then, your biggest disappointment was my penis.
Fuck yeah.
Midnight Chats is a Loud and Quiet podcast. Production by Emma Snook. Music courtesy of Gold Panda. Search Midnight Chats on iTunes for more episodes and to subscribe. For more information, visit loudandquiet.com.